Crypto Bobby. Hope you are having a great day, great night, wherever you are watching in from. What is up, Devin, Dusty, Raphael, Daniela? Hope you guys are having a good one so far, and wanted to pop in today. Was thinking about doing a recorded video here, but figured today would be a little bit more productive just in general, popping in and answering some questions. Not that much really went on in the crypto markets today. Life Size Box, Jorge, Cyber Skills, what's up? What's up? Let me fix his view count here. Boom. Sweet. So appreciate everybody's time so far. If you are watching right now live, hit that thumbs up button, hit the like button, helps to get this video out to as many people as possible. And as always, do appreciate that. But yeah, like I said, wanted to just pop in here and talk to you guys, answer as many questions as possible, because I think that the markets have moved sideways today. Really, the only big bit of news, and it's not even really big news in general, but Facebook has reactivated or is kind of re-enabling or re-allowing cryptocurrency advertisements again on their platform. And it's kind of funny because a lot of people, when first, I think it was either Facebook, I believe Facebook was first, and then Google, and then like Microsoft, and then Twitter. But basically every big player in the advertising, the digital advertising industry banned cryptocurrency related advertisements. Really right after the peak. I wonder around December, January timeframe. I think it was probably January timeframe. I could probably look it up, but I'm a little bit lazy here. But everybody banned crypto advertising, and a lot of it was around ICOs or initial coin offerings. And there was some good with that. There was also some bad with that. If you're a legitimate project and you are no longer able to advertise online, maybe you've already done an ICO, or you're just a crypto related business and you can't advertise to either new customers or retarget customers, whatever it might be, you couldn't go through that process. And Facebook is, at this point in time, if we pull it up over on TechCrunch, it was actually the headline article on TechCrunch. So I'll pull it up here. Yeah, Facebook reverses its crypto ban. This was 6 hours ago. And they say, as there's clearly too much ad revenue potential to ignore, Facebook today announced it's reversing its cryptocurrency ban effective immediately. So is this the biggest news in the world? Like I said, no, not at all. Is it a step in the right direction? Yes. And they also say this, that it will come from pre-approved advertisers, and they will still not allow advertisements promoting binary options or initial coin offerings So actually, I think, Facebook is, in my opinion, taking a decent approach, because I don't really think that you should be allowed. I think in a lot of respects, if you're just advertising to mom and pop and whoever, Joe Schmo, I don't think they should be able to advertise somebody to invest in an initial coin offering in an ICO. But if you're an actual business and you're trying to generate revenue and you're trying to generate users and grow, then I don't think there's anything wrong with advertising on Facebook for a lot of these companies. So that is, I think it's a positive thing. And I mean, I think Facebook, obviously Facebook and Google are the two big dogs in the room, but it'll be interesting to see how Google and how Twitter and Microsoft end up playing this too, now that Facebook has kind of come out and said, hey, we looked at everything, we feel comfortable if we can get a pre-approved advertiser list moving forward, that we can make this work. So I think, they're recognizing, at least in my opinion, Facebook is recognizing that, hey, not every actor in the cryptocurrency space is bad. We don't need to ban everything, but we can ban ICOs, binary options, and actually go through the process of doing due diligence on these advertisers. Hopefully this doesn't mean that we have to see James Altucher ads every 5 seconds until the rest of time, until we get thrown into oblivion, but that might happen. That's going to be the one downside of this. If I see one more advertisement from Jimmy Altucher, I'm going to go nuts. But yeah, outside of that, guys, that was really the big, I mean, from my perspective, that was some of the biggest news today. I'll refresh on ChainFX here. But there really wasn't a lot of kind of outstanding news. A lot of another big topic of discussion today was, I think it was ZCon, or the Zcash conference. And Zuko Wilcox, the founder of Zcash, it came out, they actually published his basically salary. I think he's making like over $300,000 a month from the founders rewards, because the price of Zcash has gone up so substantially. I think it was initially about 33 times less than that. But that's another big thing that's been circulating on Twitter, is jokes around Zuko Wilcox's salary, things like that. But outside of that, really not all that much going on. El Visionero, Bobby's drunk in all caps. Yeah, drinking. I am absolutely hammered right now off Poland Springs. It has been a wild, wild night. Yeah, really, really drunk. So very, very drunk. Now, if I'm drunk, if I'm drinking, I'll tell you what I'm drinking. I have a bottle of rye in the cabinet. I am not drinking that. I kind of wish I was, but trying to laugh the cows late night. We'll see what happens. Popping over to, I mean, it has, as I said before, I mean, it's kind of been one of those days where the market has just bled out a little bit. It has been a continued, it's just been a continued down. There's not much positive momentum. You're not seeing many people feeling bullish at all. And I think we're getting, as I've said before, we are getting closer and closer and closer to capitulation for the majority of retail investors. And I do think that as we're looking, and that's a great question, Michael. This is kind of what I was about to say. So thank you for the question and appreciate the super chat there as well, Michael. Hey, Bobby, would you start dollar cost averaging now with each paycheck, or wait for $5,000 BTC? I personally, and this is obviously not financial advice, I am not a registered financial advisor. I think that, in the long term, my personal opinion is the price of Bitcoin specifically and other select assets, other select crypto assets, will rise in the medium to long term. Short term, can we pull back significantly, or can we continue to pull back significantly? Yes. We're still down about, what are we down with Bitcoin here? We'll pull it up here. We're still down 70% from the all-time highs. You're buying right now at a 70% discount to what anybody who bought in December purchased at. Yes, it could go down to 80%. Yes, it could go down to 90. Yes, the all-time, it could just continue to drop. But if there is a time to dollar cost average, I would say now is a freaking fantastic time to do so. I'm dollar cost averaging in a little bit more. I also took a little bit off the table at 8,400, and I'm kind of redeploying some of that back into Bitcoin. That was kind of my thoughts there. But yeah, I would say now is definitely a decent time when you just consider where we are. And I think just overall the momentum as a whole. Do I think that we are at the bottom? Absolutely not. I'm not exactly positive where the bottom might be. But I think that seeing $5,000 Bitcoin would be realistic. I think seeing $4,000 Bitcoin is a possibility. If we see $4,000 Bitcoin, I'm going to buy a ton of it, or try to buy as much of it as possible. But I'm not scaling in. Like, I'm not going all in right now at this exact moment. But I do think that now would be a decent time when you consider where we were, the hype cycle. You're not dollar cost averaging in now at the top of the hype cycle. At least that's my mind. So taking a look at some of these questions, most of you guys are going to get wrecked some more from Charles with a little tongue out. There will be a huge washout in the next few weeks. Never take advice from YouTubers. Yeah, duh, Charles. Don't take advice from me. That comes with the territory. I'm not here for for your specific advice, or really anybody's. I'm just here to provide my own general thoughts, commentary, feedback on it. But I do think that, like I was saying before, I do think we're at a midpoint of retail capitulation, and I do think that it is probably going to get worse before it gets better. But if you are dollar cost averaging and you're dipping your toe in a little bit, and you kind of continue to do so, keep a lot of reserves in case we dip a lot lower, that's not the worst strategy in the world. I'm not telling you, hey, $6,000 at the bottom, YOLO your life savings into it and go from there. That would be stupid. That would be dumb, and hopefully you won't do that. So taking a look at some of these questions here. Tether Connect. Crypto Alex, what are your thoughts on masternodes? So I've talked about this a little bit in the past. Talked about this a little bit in the past. I have right now I do have a master node or master nodes, Gin master node, GIN. It's Gin coin. That's really the one master node I have in place right now, or the master nodes that I have in place right now. It's through Gin, and it's actually Gin's master node. But I've had good and bad experiences. I talked about this before. Gin was great. GIN is the coin. It's master node right now. Setup costs about $10,000 to set up. You can buy it on Cryptopia. It used to be Crypto Bridge, and the system is I for the most part I like the system. It pays out really well. I don't think it's sustainable, and that worries me quite a bit because you're making like money on this thing, and it just doesn't feel sustainable for me in the long run. So I have a very small percentage, like very small percentage of my portfolio. On the other end of the spectrum, there was another masternode that I tried to play around with, and it was a Pollen coin, which was like $2,500, $3,000, and that has really gone to show me too, because I was kind of new to a lot of the masternode stuff, just being pretty frank. And with a Pollen coin, their tech is just basically trash, pretty much. Their blockchain got all screwed up. You couldn't run a masternode, and they had to do a coin swap. And the coin swap right now, my coins are literally stuck in the coin swap. There's like nothing I can do. I filed a support ticket, but there is my Apollon coin right now, 25,000 Apollon coin, which is like $2.5 grand, is floating in ether. Put in a support ticket, haven't heard anything back. So I've had great experiences with Gin, I've had terrible experiences with Apollon coin. The long-term view of that is probably most masternodes, especially these smaller masternodes, are just absolute dog crap, and are probably going to take your money, and you're going to lose quite a bit of money. On the other end of the spectrum, some might turn out well. For me personally, with like Gin, let's see if I can pull up masternodes. So like Gin, for me personally, when I'm looking at masternodes, Gin for me has not only been a payout in terms of BIC, or a payout in terms of just daily masternodes or every other day or whatever it might be, the payments there, but on the other end of the spectrum, the actual price of the token on a BTC value has like doubled to tripled since I got in, which is cool. Like I think the market cap was like 7 mil when I got into Gin coin initially, and it's up to like 20 mil now. It's obviously more expensive, which is good and bad, but I mean, I don't know. I just kind of like, it's super easy. It's cool. But on the other end, like I said, Apollon coin has been a nightmare, and I'm almost ready to write that off just entirely. Sorga kill, your Apollon are stuck too. Yeah, let's hope we get those back. Let's turn back the clock and go back in 2016 and talk about masternodes. Yep. Thanks, Charles. What are your thoughts regarding Metronome? The first auction supposedly moves. I haven't done that much diligence on. I haven't done that much diligence on Metronome. I know I had a lot of friends that were pretty bullish on Metronome like 6 months ago, or were really interested in the ICO. And I'm actually on the newsletter, but I just kind of stopped reading a lot of the emails that came through. I don't remember the exact structure. It was an interesting, like, I don't remember if it was a reverse Dutch auction, or there was something not standard about the way that Metronome did their ICO. I believe they raised $12 million through their ICO, which is actually, when you consider it, pretty conservative, normal amount for an initial coin offering, or for a regular company. You know, granted, it's probably a seed round, not like a Series A, but if you're looking at a Series A, $12 million is actually like a normal, healthy amount, not the $50, $100 million that some of these other companies are raising. Metronome is a divisive one, especially when you talk to Bitcoin people, Bitcoin maximalists, because Jeff Garzik was one of the big guys behind SegWit2x, and he is behind Metronome. They also were advertising in Times Square, which I don't know why coins and companies do this, but like, stop trying to advertise in Times Square. It's stupid. Like, don't do it. Live in New York City. Don't advertise in Times Square. No tourist is walking around in Times Square like, hey, oh yeah, well, I'm gonna invest in this Metronome ICO. Like, it's just for a tweet. It's so dumb. Do you think Cardano ADA is a good buy right now? I don't necessarily know about that in total. So here, let's pull up. I mean, Cardano's down pretty damn high from its all-time high. Where do we got Cardano? This is just an absolute wreck. I mean, 95%, Nano 94%, Dentacoin's not real, Dragon Chain 94% from the all-time high, Substratum 93. Where's Cardano? 91% down from its all-time high. Pretty freaking crazy. The ROI in the past 6 months on Cardano is down 70%. I mean, it's just absolutely nuts. It's obviously pulled back substantially. I've said this before, and I'll talk a little bit about just my thoughts on platforms and over at NAC3 in Vegas. So I'm going to post this content when it gets kind of edited and chopped up and ready for you guys. But over at NAC3, actually not in Vegas, in San Francisco, I was on a panel with Carter Thomas from Coin Mastery. Shout out again, Carter, and CryptoLark, two good dudes. But somebody asked about like Cardano and EOS and just these platforms in general. And I do think that like there's this like weird cycle that, not necessarily a weird cycle, but there's this cycle that goes on with these platforms where you basically have a select number of platforms that are trying to compete with Ethereum. And every once in a while, there's a platform that just goes absolutely nuts and haywire, and people get super excited about it, and they think the general investor community latches onto it and says, hey, this is going to beat Ethereum, or this is going to be the Ethereum of China, or whatever it might be. And that's happened multiple times. That's happened with most recently EOS. So EOS had a hell of a run recently. I mean, it's still down pretty significantly from its all-time high, but performed a lot better than the majority of other coins. So EOS had a really nice run. Cardano had a fantastic run in early December. There was a lot of hype around Cardano. I believe it was the second largest platform play outside of Ethereum. Neo has had big moves in the past as well. Neo's done really well, where it was up to like $150 at a certain amount of time. Qtum in the past, Icon in the past. Zilliqa had a really big run at one point in time as well. Like, these platforms just go on these, people just get super excited about them and then they cool off, and you have to be flexible, at least in my mind, when it comes down to these platforms. You can't fall in love with a lot of them. I mean, you can really like it, but like as you've seen with Cardano, you fell in love with Cardano, you bought it, and Cardano was really good to me. I got Cardano at 3 cents initially and bought more at 13 cents, rode it all the way up to like 75 cents or so, like that, during the crazy run. Was able to take a little bit of profits there, but like if you fall in love with one of these platforms, then you can see it recover. I mean, pull back another 90% or so. So not always fun. A couple different people saying BNB is awesome. Yeah, BNB is Binance Coin BNB is one of the few that have really like held up well, and there's a number of things behind it. But Binance, where do we got? Let's pull up BNB BTC. I mean, in the look at the past 3 months. I mean, this is in comparison to Bitcoin, so the token value might actually be down a little bit, but like over the past 3 months, BNB is just absolutely crushing. You zoom out a year, like look at this freaking chart on Binance Coin. I mean, it's absolutely outrageous. It's like one of the few tokens that's really done well. There's a couple of different things behind that, I think, that are interesting. Number one, the first thing too, and I mean, it's just from personal experience, but Binance, or just seeing it too, but Binance now, if you have a referral, if you're part of the affiliate program or part of the referral program, Binance now allows you, if you hold over 500 BNB tokens, which is like, I don't remember the exact value, $7, $8 something thousand. If you hold over 500 BNB tokens, you double your affiliate commission from 20%, which is standard, to 40%, which if you have a lot of referrals, that could be a lot of money. So there are a lot of people, I think, that are holding that. There's obviously the percentage off fees. And you also now, not even just with the increase in referrals, not only that, but you can now convert your dust into BNB tokens as well. And BNB tokens have been performing pretty well. So, people out there might just be converting their dust into BNB tokens, letting it roll. So I do think that there's a number of factors, and Binance, just generally speaking, is executing pretty well. When you look at the space, Binance is aggressive. They execute strongly. And it's been fun to watch them. Yeah, somebody said quarterly burns, cost pumps, also a number of things too. Affiliates always shouts Ponzi to me. Sorry, I don't think referring somebody to a profitable exchange, like Amazon has an affiliate program. Amazon is not a Ponzi scheme. Walmart has an affiliate program. Amazon is not a Ponzi scheme. When you looked at BitConnect and you saw a triangle, that was a multi-tiered affiliate program. That is a Ponzi scheme. If it's just one person getting a discount on fees and then getting a percentage of that, that is a legitimate affiliate program in my mind, and not a Ponzi scheme or anything like that. But just clarification on that, at least in my opinion. Binance is the only crypto that actually produces revenue, or BNB is the only crypto that actually produces revenue. That's why it's doing the best. Yes and no. You don't. So Binance is obviously, if not, I don't know if it's the most profitable company in cryptocurrency. If not, what, probably top 5 between Binance, Bitmain, which is the producer of the mining equipment for Bitcoin and for a number of other cryptocurrencies, the ASIC mining equipment. So Binance, Bitmain, CoinBase, and I would think a couple other exchanges are probably top 5 in terms of profitability, or just revenue in general in the crypto space. It's not like you're getting equity in Binance when you acquire the BNB token, but as Binance continues to become more popular, as well as the kind of inherent utility of the token itself grows over time too, the value has been accruing within the BNB token. So it has been an interesting case study to watch, absolutely, and it's been nice to see a token performing well throughout the market. Keith Williams, do you still believe in Wanchain long term? I'm not exactly, a little more iffy on Wanchain. There's been some executive departures recently to other companies in the ecosystem, and I don't necessarily know exactly what that might mean for it. But I think Dustin Byington, who is the president of Wanchain, is no longer at Wanchain. He's at like another company within the ecosystem. And there's a couple other people that were at Wanchain that left. I don't necessarily know if that is, I don't know the backstory behind that. I would have to do a little bit more research on that. But it is interesting to see some pretty quick, it seems like pretty quick turnover there in leadership positions. You haven't seen that as much with a lot of other projects. I don't know what that might mean, if that's a good thing, if that's a bad thing, but yeah, I saw that. So that's one thing to consider at this point in time. And like I said, I don't know the reason behind it. I think it's within the ecosystem, so it's basically like leaving from Wanchain, the foundation or whatever might be behind it, to another company that's supporting the Wanchain ecosystem as a whole. Maybe it's more effective in that capacity. Maybe it helps seed the ecosystem more. Maybe it doesn't. I don't have a holding of Wanchain. I wanted to buy it. It pumped through the roof. I didn't buy it because I missed the pump, and then it came all the way back down to below where I wanted to buy it at. Still haven't. So Jason, good point. Great projects like Golem, Augur are tethered performance-wise, not necessarily US dollar tether, but tied to the performance of Bitcoin. When will this end? When will legitimate projects be recognized more than the speculative investment? What do you think? Well, I mean, I would say that both Augur as well as Golem, I mean, Augur is not necessarily mainnet yet. I think a lot of people are excited to see Augur hit mainnet. I think Golem is another project that has been in the ecosystem for a while, recently hit mainnet as well. But when you're looking at it, I do think that there is going to be a point in time in terms of removing the speculative nature, the speculation calming down, and actually finding utility of some of these tokens. I still don't think that people have when it comes to real or like sophisticated investors, there is no specific formula to value a lot of these assets. There isn't a formula to really effectively value these assets. So it makes it difficult to say, when the speculation is going to subside, because right now we are pretty much just existing on speculation, even with Bitcoin. I mean, there is no perfect valuation metric. I think people are doing a lot of due diligence and work and trying to get to metrics that accurately predict price and associate the utility of a token with price. But I don't think we're there yet. But it'll be fun to watch as some of these more established companies that have pretty rich valuations actually hit mainnet, and you can see some of the adoption there. So looking at what do we see here? Andy, what's up, brother? And if any of you guys have any questions that you absolutely must have answered, throw it in the super chat. But I'll try to get to as many of these as possible. And if you're enjoying it so far, hit that thumbs up button, hit that like button, gets this video out to as many people as possible, and always appreciate that. But popping back to Andy's question, would you say the main use case for crypto right now is speculation? I would say from a retail perspective, yes. If you're talking about retail participants in the market, if you ask, let's say 10,000 people that have participated in an ICO or have bought an altcoin, did you buy this altcoin because you wanted to participate in this altcoin's ecosystem? You wanted to use this altcoin for the D app. You wanted to participate in the ecosystem in some measure. Or you were using this, you purchased this altcoin because you bought it at $1 and you thought the price would go to $1.10 or $2 or whatever it might be. 90%, I would venture to say probably 90, maybe greater than that, percent would say, I bought it at one price because I thought I was going to sell it at another price, and I had no intention of actually using this within the ecosystem. So yeah, with that being said, I do think that that is the main use case right now. However, I hope and I think for sustainability purposes, if we're ever going to get to a point where we see steady user adoption and we actually see a sustainable ecosystem, we're going to have to get to a point where these DApps are actually, utility tokens are actually required to be used for some of these DApps, and that people are actually using them for their intended purpose and not just for speculation. Yogesh, thanks for the clarification. Found this on Reddit. Dustin did not abandon WanChain. He is now leading a stealth project. I mean, that's kind of what I said. Now leading a stealth project that launches on the WanChain ecosystem. Yep, I think that's sounds pretty similar to what I've heard. So. In it for the technology, LOL. What do we got here? Let's see. Pop down. Expat ran. Any updates on AirSwap? Just chugging along. Still working there, obviously full time. Got some new things that are coming out in the near future that will be, I think, that will be announced. So don't want to spoil any of those, but some new interesting things that the team is working on, as well as just increasing adoption and volume on the token trading marketplace as well. So a lot of different things that we're working on, some exciting stuff. I'm pumped about it. Really, looking forward to just seeing continued adoption for the AirSwap platform and just pushing that forward as much as possible. So I'm excited about that. I think that, we have a solid baseline built out right now, just a matter of executing. Jeff Thompson, what's up, brother? So you're saying that these valuations will not be around once we have proper metrics to evaluate projects, meaning most projects won't be over $1 billion market cap. I do think that there is going to be an even larger correction. I do think there's probably even going to be a larger correction when it comes down to a lot of these utility tokens, especially when you can see some of the usability on, like, once certain things hit mainnet. I've spoken about it before, but once some things hit mainnet and you can actually see whether or not people are using them, that actually removes a lot of the speculative element to that. And you can see that a lot of these tokens and these companies that have had ERC20 tokens and they've launched their own platform, as soon as they've launched their own platform, things have cooled off too. EOS has cooled off, Tron's cooled off, and a lot of these DApps as well. They go live on mainnet, and then people can see maybe they're not as usable as they wanted or whatever it might be. So yeah, I do think that as we continue to get proper metrics, you might see some projects dipping below billions of dollars or the hundreds of millions of dollars or wherever they might be and actually trading at parity with a real valuation. You might also see others really rocket. So a couple different interesting platform, or a couple different interesting things. What's up, any ghost? Thinking super long term for a second. Many people think, first of all, thank you as well for that super chat. Very, very kind of you. But thinking long term for a second, many people think crypto possesses the potential to challenge the USD. However, if this ever happened, wouldn't the NSA just wipe out the private keys of 90% of holders with a Stuxnet 2? So there was actually a good podcast that I could recommend, the Flippening podcast. Let me pull it up here. There was an interesting part of the conversation in regards to stable coins, as well as, let's see, I got a new mechanical keyboard, so if you can hear that typing, that's why. What we got? So here is this podcast, came out a little while ago, 20 days or so ago, but really one of my favorites, I would say. Clay does a ridiculously good job. Clay does a ridiculously good job on these podcasts, and a lot of the conversation, or part of the conversation, was around so you can see here, if you want to listen to it, it's 30 minutes, but the economic case for stablecoins and the potential they have for dramatically increasing crypto asset adoption. So as Anygo said, thinking super long term, people think that crypto possesses the potential to challenge the USD. So, I'm not sure, to be honest, about the NSA wiping out the private keys and the technology that they have potentially in place for that. I'm not a cybersecurity expert, so I have no idea if the NSA actually has the potential to do that or not. I know a lot of people kind of joke or are convinced that the NSA has actually had some level of involvement with the creation of Bitcoin, or is Satoshi Nakamoto as a whole. But an interesting point of discussion there is that crypto challenging the USD. And so Stephen McKeon, who is a professor at the University of Oregon and also is heavily involved in security tokens, Security Token Academy, which is a company that does conferences and research and things like that on security tokens, but talked about stablecoins. So not like Dollar Tether or MakerDAO with DAI, or Basis with Basecoin or Basis Coin, and a number of these other kind of companies that are trying to be stablecoins, whether they're asset backed with true USD or they are like algorithmic stablecoins as well. And talked about the need for stablecoins to basically provide some level of stability, because the case right now is, although there are a lot of people that believe in hyper Bitcoinization, where Bitcoin will essentially be at some point in time basically be the global reserve currency in the scenario of hyper Bitcoinization. In the meantime, he believes that stablecoins will have a strong use case, because paying for things and transacting via crypto, via Bitcoin or Ethereum, when the price could skyrocket or the price could drop. If you want to buy a house with Bitcoin and then the price of Bitcoin goes up 30% or drops 30%, that could have a very altering effect on that transaction. So the actual stablecoin conversation that they had in regards to the economics of that, and how that could, even if Bitcoin or one of these other cryptocurrencies kind of becomes the global reserve currency, then stablecoins in the meantime could add a lot of value to the ecosystem. Thanks a lot. I trade crypto. I appreciate that. So, Steven, this is a tough question, man. Hey, Bobby, what's your advice for someone like me who entered the market in November, December 2017 at all-time highs? My portfolio is 70% in the red. First of all, I'm sorry. That's not fun. It's tough to give super solid advice on that. The one thing I would say is I'm not an advocate for just close your eyes and hodl. I think just saying hodl is bad advice. However, if the past is any indication of the future, there have been multiple crypto asset corrections, crashes that have preceded a future bull run or a future run back up to all-time highs or whatever it might be. Does that mean that will happen again at some point in time? There's absolutely no guarantee that could happen again, and you could potentially stay at 70% below your initial investment. You could drop to 80%, 85, 90% down. So that is absolutely in the realm of possibility. But if the past is any indication of the future here, we will see a return to all-time highs at some point in time. Does that mean the exact assets that did well in the past will also do well in the future? Not at all. So there could require a rebalancing of the portfolio and things of that nature. But I do believe that we will see a point in time. Am I convinced now that it is in 2018? Not necessarily, but I do believe that we will see a point in time with the infrastructure that's being built, and with the level of investment and the kind of the growing sophistication of the market. I do believe that we will see a return crypto asset wise to all-time highs at some point in time. I think we're going to see that $800 billion mark again. I do think at one point in the next 5 years, we'll see $1 trillion market in crypto, but that doesn't necessarily help your situation right now. So it just depends on whether or not it's money you can afford to lose. And, I hope it's a small percentage of your overall assets and overall net worth, and it's, something you can handle on a risk-adjusted basis. Daniel Barnett, what's up, brother? Quantum computing equals wrecked BTC. I don't necessarily think we're there yet. I think you'd be hearing a lot more noise. I think there's some small noise every once in a while in regards to quantum computing and Bitcoin and just crypto, cryptography in general, but it doesn't seem like we're there yet. And I think some companies are working on quantum resistance as well. D, what's up, man? Thoughts on BitXOXO token? I have never heard of BitXOXO. Let me see if I can. India's largest cryptocurrency exchange. Yep. I don't know what that's about. So yeah, no idea what that is. But looking at it just in general, I mean, the website doesn't work then. So taking a look here. Yeah, so Jeff mentioned 70% is past the point of no return. If 40 to 50, 40 to 50 take your losses, but 70%, you just got to hold, man. It sucks, bruh. A part of me thinks that. Also, the other part of me says you're down 70%. You can also go down 80, 90, 95%, as some of these assets have. And that's a little bit worrisome for sure. So I do think that there is, I do think that there is a little worry there, but overall, you might be, I don't know. It's tough. It really comes down to personal comfort with these investments and everything like that. Eric 2.0, is USI Tech a good investment? Thanks for financial advice. Is USI Tech still around? I thought BitConnect went out of business. I thought they were dead. So popping through. So Greg B, this is a good question. So I'm not flying anytime soon, but which white papers are you reading on your next flight? Or is it back to riding a bicycle until the portfolio recovers? I flew back from San Francisco this week. I didn't actually just watch two movies because I was bored and lazy and tired. So I watched bored, lazy, tired, a little bit hungover. But watched two movies. I watched Hostels with Christian Bale, which is actually really good. And I watched There Will Be Blood, which I never watched before, but it was like super critically acclaimed movies. I was not a fan of There Will Be Blood. Hostels, yes. But in regards to white papers, if you guys have any good white papers, show me the white papers and let me know, let me know your thoughts, what I should read, what I should be looking at. So here's the BitXOXO thing. Let's pull that up. Thank you for the super chat there. Appreciate that. But blockchain Bitcoin exchange. Not exactly sure why they did the ICO for this. Never seen it. I think they said it was crypto prepaid card ICO launchpad. That's a lot of stuff. Jesus. Oh, hard cap 27 mil. So let's just sum up real quick as I look back at those. As I look back at these, and granted, I don't know too much about BitXOXO, but what are they doing? So they're building a platform. They're building an exchange. They're building a gift card. They're building an app. They're building an ICO launchpad. They're building an altcoin marketplace. They're building a Bitcoin Cash e-university certificate program. They're building a point of sale app. They're building an incubator. They're building a debit card. What aren't they building? You act now and buy 5 tokens. You'll get 1 free. Oh, man. I love that stuff sometimes. Oh, they're building a lending platform too. Yeah, BitConnect. How would the market react if Amazon adopted tomorrow? Well, that's it's a good question. If you ever see that in the news, always verify the source, because Jimmy Altucher has been saying that Amazon is going to accept cryptocurrency since like Q3 of last year. So anytime anybody says Amazon is going to accept cryptocurrency, I don't believe it until it actually happens. But when we're thinking about that, it depends on what that means. Is Amazon creating their own token, or is Amazon accepting? Are they partnering with Coinbase or BitPay or some other merchant processor to accept cryptocurrency for customers. Is that possible? You have to take into consideration what that might mean. Would be pretty, I mean, honestly, I would love it if Amazon partnered with like Coinbase. I like Coinbase over BitPay, but like if Amazon partnered with a company to accept cryptocurrency, that would be awesome if I could spend Bitcoin or some other stuff on Amazon, because I basically buy everything on Amazon. So I would rather see that than seeing like Amazon launch a token. I also think they're so big, so profitable, so monstrous that they're not going to like create a token. I don't think that that's necessarily going to happen, but if they accepted cryptocurrency, that'd be pretty damn cool. And I would love to spend money on that. So Justin Mason, what's up, dude? Another Amazon token with incentives will be nice. Yeah, for sure. So Justin Mason said, where are we in custody solutions? This is a great question. Great question. But with custody solutions, I think that is one of the major issues with large scale adoption. I know it's kind of overused now, but people talk about institutional investors and all these big time investors getting to the cryptocurrency space. And when are the institutions coming? Where are they? When are they coming? They're not coming. Like large institutions, for the most part, are not coming until there are real custodian services in the crypto asset industry, whether it's Bitcoin, Ethereum, or ERC20 tokens. Until they can basically go to their investors and say, hey, we know who is holding this stuff, we know the security precautions that are kind of involved in it, and they're basically like registered with the government and a number of other kind of components around that. I don't think that the institutional players are going to be coming. The largest institutional players will be coming into the space. Once you see one or two custody solutions kind of moving across the board, that is going to be massive. Coinbase is working on a custodianship service. There's a couple other, Ledger in partnership with Nomura. There are a number of companies that are really like, companies out there understand, at least the companies building in this space right now, they definitely understand like, hey, if we can solve for custody, we're going to make an ass ton of money. We're going to make an ass ton of money. So we're trying to get there. We're trying to get there first, but I don't think it's there yet to a level of comfort with that is required for these larger companies to move. I don't know how far away we are from it. I mean, I've heard good things about a number of the companies that are building, but I don't know how far away we are in terms of just having a really strong or a number of really strong custodian services or custodian companies in the mix. But once that happens, I think that will be a huge two big catalysts for the market to potentially pick up again. Is really an established custodian service and then potentially ETFs. I think both are far away though. Personally, I don't think we'll see an established. I don't think we'll see really established custodian services until early 2019. I don't think we'll see an ETF in 2018, but that's just me trying to be realistic. So Jeff Thompson says, how come we hear so much about the OTC market, the over-the-counter market, for those who are unfamiliar? If you're not familiar with what OTC is, it's essentially larger investors, larger traders who are typically OTC trades, are usually a lot of the larger OTC desks, such as Genesis Trading, DRW, which is from, or DRW Cumberland. Typically their minimum trades are between $250,000 and $500,000. So if you have a ton of Bitcoin or a ton of Ethereum and you need to move a large block order without moving the price of that asset, and going on to a GDAX or now Coinbase Pro or Gemini, and potentially risking slippage if you put an order of that size on the books, you will go to an OTC desk such as DRW, such as Genesis, and trade there. And according to a lot of the larger investors, the trading volume, while the trading volume on a lot of these other exchanges over time is down substantially when you think about trading volume over time with these, with Binance and with a lot of these other crypto assets, is down pretty substantially. But OTC trading apparently is at all-time highs, Why is that not increasing the price? Well, there's a buyer and a seller on every trade. It doesn't necessarily mean that the price is going to go up in any substantial way whatsoever. It could. I just don't think necessarily that OTC volume necessarily directly correlates with an increase in price. So I think that, like I said, it's not just people buying, there's also people selling that to them, and there could be greater sell pressure on the OTC market than on the buy side. So I think that's probably what we're seeing at this point in time. So taking a look at some more of these questions here. Tristan, good point for sure. There are no new buyers, no fresh money coming into alts. The bleeding continues as holders capitulate. Two choices: either sell and come back later, or switch from shit coins into stronger coins. So that is a good point. I would say that I concur with that the vast majority of people in the space right now have been in the space for some point in time. There are not many, I would say, looking at this is not the best judgment of the market as a whole, but just looking at the analytics on my YouTube, I can see that the vast majority of people that watch my videos are actually already subscribed to the channel. There's not that many new people coming in. When I look at the referral, like affiliate links and things like that, like CoinBase, when I had a CoinBase link, there was a point in time where there were like 10, 15, 20 people potentially a day signing up via my CoinBase link. And now I might get 1 to 2 a month. So you're seeing like there were months where there was like hundreds of people signing up and starting, and that's just myself personally. I think you could extrapolate that across a lot of these other people on YouTube and that have audiences, and then just Coinbase's business in general. You can also look at the overall volume on Coinbase and things like that. But I do think that the vast majority of it is not, we're not seeing a ton of fresh money from the retail side of the house. Potentially in the institutional side, we're maybe seeing a trickle in of money there. But for the most part, I think that, I'd say that retail holders continue to capitulate out of the market, leave the market as a whole, and we're not seeing a lot of new, fresh money. You're going to have to get comfortable. You're going to have to get comfortable with the reality of that situation until there is some type of, whether it is something just like a really bullish, positive action for the crypto asset industry, or if it's some type of manipulation, I don't know. You're gonna have to be comfortable with the market moving sideways or potentially downwards for quite some time. That's my overall opinion. Josh, any thoughts on Polyswarm? I still hold on my Polyswarm. Am I still bullish? It's gotten crushed. I'm not gonna lie. I've lost a good amount of money on Polyswarm, but I'm at the point where I'm going down with the ship. So I don't think the ship's going down. But I think that for me to sell it at this point in time, that's an ill-advised move. So I am, at this point in time, for better or for worse, gonna hodl that specific asset. Not every asset, but Polyswarm in general. David Parsons, what's up, dude? Views on smaller countries like Malta and Gibraltar leading the way in regulated government-backed exchanges. So that's actually a good point. I don't know if I'm on the website yet, but Delta Summit. Let's see. So I'm actually going to be going out to Malta in like October to speak at a conference. This will be kind of cool. I'm excited about this. So I'm actually going out to Malta. I've never been to Malta. I have no idea, no expectations, nothing. I've heard it's an interesting place at the very least. But Tim Draper speaking at this conference, CZ from Binance, a number of other people. Where's my man? My man Justin Sun speaking. So I'm going to be speaking at the same conference with Justin Sun, even though I make fun of Tron 24/7. So it might be awkward. But I mean, outside of that, I've heard some interesting things about I've heard some interesting things about just Malta and Gibraltar and some of these countries that are trying to be very lenient towards crypto asset regulation. And going back to Clay Collins in the Flippening podcast, there was another podcast where he had Eric Meltzer on from, let's see, Flippening, Eric Meltzer. Let's see if I can pull up this one. Here's another podcast. If you want to check this out, they talk briefly about, I put a link in the comments there, but they talk briefly, Clay Collins and Eric talk briefly about, at one point in time, let's see, I don't think it's here, but Clay asked Eric about, his thoughts on some of these countries, these jurisdictions like Malta. The exact question was hot or not, or I think it was like basically hot or not, or agree or disagree, Malta and Gibraltar as like crypto countries essentially. And Eric was like, you know what? I don't know too much. It's interesting on Malta, but I don't know too much. It's on Malta, but like when you look at the online poker industry, when the US banned online poker, whatever it was, 10, 15 years ago, the US basically banned online poker, pushed it out of the country. There were a number of companies in the Caribbean or countries in the Caribbean and elsewhere that tried to be havens for online poker with access to the US, and the US still kind of was able to exert their control over that. So that same thing could potentially happen with cryptocurrency. Essentially just Eric saying, hey, the US is a really long regulatory arm and could negatively affect these things either way. I got the most energy ever, Cliff, bro. I've been hitting the gym real hard. See this? Did farmers walks today, shoulders. Jokester, do I consider myself a retail investor? Yeah, I would consider myself a retail investor. Yeah, I think for the most part, yeah, I would consider myself a retail investor with now at this point in time, decent knowledge and kind of inside knowledge of just the industry. I mean, working full time at AirSwap, I have a lot of good conversations. I meet a lot of interesting people. So I have a lot of kind of conversations with industry insiders per se. And just, but when it comes down to investing, I wouldn't say I'm some type of incredibly sophisticated institutional investor or anything like that. Guys, at this point in time, I am going to, it's 10:30, got a long day ahead of me tomorrow, so I am going to be an old man and head to bed. But I really do appreciate everybody's time. If you enjoyed this video, hit the thumbs up button. If you're new here by any chance, hit that subscribe. Really do appreciate it. Thank you guys for all of your questions, for all your thoughts, especially to anybody who threw in a super chat. It was really awesome. Hope you guys have a good one. I will be back tomorrow with another video, getting back on that daily grind, getting everything set up and rolling. Thank you guys so much for the time. Really do appreciate it. Crypto Bobby signing out. Have a good one. Peace.